Okay, so hundreds of Twitter employees promptly resigning after Elon Musk issued a ruthless ultimatum and abruptly closed Twitter offices until Monday. For more on this chaotic tech takeover, DataGrade founder and CEO, former Google consultant, and data protection and digital literacy expert Joe Toscano, also author of Automating Humanity. Joe, you are all over the map. Thank you for taking the time to join us on this Saturday. Let's start with this culture reset at Twitter. Look, I got to be straight with me because companies get taken over all the time, right? New people come in, they have new rules, they have new goals. There's going to be firings, there's going to be resignations, people upset. At the end of the day, it's all about making money. It's about the bottom line. So how is this takeover any different from anything else we see every single day in this country?
I think one of the biggest complications that we have with this takeover with Elon Musk is that he's also bartering some of his stock and money from Tesla to fund some of this. So we not only have a standard takeover of a company, but we have someone who's also working multiple enterprises, and the success of one could potentially impact the success of the other.
But people are calling this chaotic, and that this obviously makes Twitter look bad. People are fleeing Twitter. But how is it any different? I mean, this is what companies go through. Sometimes the culture changes.
Absolutely, that's true. Companies, cultures do change. I think with this, though, one of the biggest things is, sometimes when a company gets acquired, it's through another company that's public still, right? He purchases, it's now private. That's a big deal. And like I said, he runs Tesla. And so what happens, for example, if China doesn't like some of the commentary that's going on Twitter? Now, China may not say it out loud, but a lot of his factory, a lot of his work is happening in China. Is it potential that maybe they slow down that factory work if he doesn't do what they want in terms of censorship of certain content? That's something we won't know until it happens, right? There's some complications in this beyond just him taking over, the chaos of firing people, the things that he's doing with the privacy and security of the platform that I think everybody needs to be a little bit concerned about here.
Well, I want to ask you about that because that is the focus of so many conversations right now, is the free speech part of it. I mean, he's brought back people like Kathy Griffin, brought back Babylon Bee. I think he just put a poll out questioning if he should bring back former President Trump, although the former president doesn't really want to come back. How do you see this going? Could this be a problem in the future, especially if there aren't any employees left to monitor what people are saying?
Yeah, that's definitely a question, right? How many people will be left there? I think regardless, he'll find people, but the big question is who's going to be the moderator? And at the end of the day, it's going to come back to him, which whether he wants to say it out loud or not, he doesn't want that. He doesn't want to be the guy at the end of the day who's everybody's pointing at and saying, hey, you're making the final decision, and it's coming down to Elon Musk as the person who is moderating this content. He doesn't want to get into politics. He's a business guy, but he's leaning into this, and he's going to be forced into politics even more, whether he wants it or not.
Yeah. I got to get into the FTX collapse, obviously creating turmoil for the other crypto companies. And we're going to see hearings on this on Capitol Hill for sure, and calls for federal oversight. What does this mean, do you think, for other crypto companies out there that might be looking at this and thinking, look, we followed the rules, we did it the right way, and we're going to have to suffer from it?
Right. There are companies out there who are trying to do it the right way. It just so happens that FTX is one of the most public-facing, and it's the thing that everybody's hearing about now, right? This is the thing that's going to be in the minds of the public when you get an advertisement about joining a new crypto platform or purchasing a new coin. People are going to be skeptical. They already were skeptical, okay? They already were skeptical. It's only going to get worse now. I'm interested to see what happens in terms of allegations of fraud. We just saw Elizabeth Holmes, who got sentenced to 11 years in prison yesterday. Yeah. And what can happen to this guy, we don't know yet, but it could be worse depending on what they bring to court and how it all goes down. And that's really not a good look for the industry, because there are good actors, but definitely it's few and far between at this point, I think.
Yeah, they got to extradite him first. You got to bring him back here from the Bahamas. Joe Toscano, thanks for joining us as always. Hope to see you again. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.